Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Eberechi Eze lit up Stamford Bridge with moments of brilliance against Chelsea, but it wasn't just his football that caught attention. With Tottenham Hotspur circling and rumours flying, the Crystal Palace star showed his true colours, both on and off the pitch, leaving fans wondering what his future holds. Eberechi Eze showed his true colours following Crystal Palace's clash against Chelsea. The 27-year-old attacking midfielder, who continues to be heavily linked with a move to Tottenham Hotspur, had a goal disallowed in the Eagles' goalless draw at Stamford Bridge on Sunday afternoon. Eze thought he had broken the deadlock inside the opening quarter of an hour, scoring a free kick from just outside the Blues box. The England international rifled the ball past Robert Sanchez, leaving the Spaniard in a heap. Unfortunately for Oliver Glasner's side, the goal was ruled out. Marc Guehi, who had opened the corridor for Eze's strike by barging into Moises Caicedo, was within 1 metre of the Chelsea wall before the shot had been taken. Despite the Crystal Palace talisman's best efforts, he couldn't find the net again. Eze showed flashes of brilliance throughout the match, but Reece James managed to keep him at bay. Towards the end of the match, Eze was replaced by Justin Devenny. As the Eagles star left the field, he applauded the travelling fans for their support on the road. Then, after the game, Eze again showed his appreciation for those in the away end who were singing his song. Once most of his teammates had gone back to the dressing room, he extended his thanks and performed a praying gesture. Speaking to Sky Sports a few moments later, Glasner provided an update on Eze's future. He said, "Eb should have scored a goal today. He had one, and it was disallowed. He will come tomorrow to the Crystal Palace training ground. Tuesday off, we take Wednesday, and I expect him to be back playing for us against Fredrikstad." Crystal Palace will lock horns with the Norwegian outfit at Selhurst Park on Thursday night for the first leg of their Conference League playoff. Speaking to reporters in his post-match press conference, Glasner added, "Don't always believe what you read, especially on the internet. There are so many rumours. I know, I watch the players every single day, in training sessions. If most of the things that is written about them is true, then they couldn't perform like this. The team could not be as committed as they are. I'm calm. 2 weeks to go. I know Eb's clause is gone, so it's the club's decision. Let's see how it goes." Football London understands that Tottenham are currently in talks with Crystal Palace over the transfer of Eze. The Englishman sees his contract in South London expire in June 2027. A new chapter starts at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Thomas Frank takes charge of Spurs for the very first time. After the emotional Europa League triumph under Ange Postecoglou, the club made the ruthless call to move on, and Frank was the unanimous choice of the board. From dealing with Son Heung-min's exit stance to embracing the scale of Spurs' global fan base, Frank's journey has already been dramatic. So, what can Tottenham fans expect from their new head coach as the Premier League season kicks off? Thomas Frank will step into the dugout at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday afternoon for the first time as Spurs head coach. It will mark the beginning of Tottenham's Premier League season, yet the start of Frank's adventure at the North London club came before he even knew he had the job. The Spurs hierarchy seemed set on relieving Ange Postecoglou of his duties at the end of last season, due to poor showings in the league, only for a groundswell of support to grow behind the Australian after he ended the 17-year wait for a trophy with the Europa League triumph. The club waited for the emotions of that night in Bilbao and the subsequent parade through N17 in front of an estimated 220,000 supporters to die down before making their final decision based on all factors, and eventually they stuck to their original thinking. Postecoglou was sacked. His compatriot and the club's chief football officer Scott Munn was placed on gardening leave, and Tottenham's hierarchy, including chairman Daniel Levy, new CEO Vinay Venkatesham, and technical director Johan Lange pushed on with the process of appointing a new head coach. Postecoglou was sacked. His compatriot and the club's chief football officer Scott Munn was placed on gardening leave, and Tottenham's hierarchy, including chairman Daniel Levy, new CEO Vinay Venkatesham, and technical director Johan Lange pushed on with the process of appointing a new head coach. Spurs used data modelling to identify 50 coaches that would suit what they were looking for, including a number of hypothetical candidates that they knew would not be available, in order to ensure a full and worthwhile detailed comparison matrix. To ensure the best possible chance of avoiding mistakes of the past, they drew up a list of 10 criteria for prospective candidates, including a track record of playing attractive football, developing young players, and good communication skills with the media as just 3 of them. When all of the criteria were taken into account, it resulted in a shortlist of 4 candidates for the position. All of the prospective quartet held meetings with the club, and 51-year-old Frank, who was initially contacted just days after the final game of Spurs season, was the unanimous choice of the board and Lang. Talks then took place between the Dane and Brentford, all while Frank was embarking on his summer plans, which included a road trip to Denmark with his wife Nana, time in Spain with his mother and sister, and then after the announcement of his Spurs appointment, a huge party back in his homeland with 50 of his closest friends, which had been pre-planned before any of the Tottenham developments occurred. One key thing for Spurs was that they needed to know Frank understood the scale of the job he was about to walk into. The scrutiny of life at the North London outfit was far removed from anything he would have experienced at Brentford. Take something as simple as his morning exercise. Frank would often go out for early runs in his local area while boss of the Bees. That will no longer be a thing he can do, as his profile grows, and a run around Victoria Harbour in the heat of Hong Kong during Spurs' summer tour in July might be one of the last times the sweat-covered Dane was able to do that in public. Frank now runs around the club's Hotspur Way training ground, inside its walls, and uses the gym there each morning with some of the staff, pushing each other in that competitive way sports people do. Lang and Frank ensured his coaching staff would make up for his lack of experience in European competition, with only a handful of Europa League qualifying matches to his name around 10 years ago. It was on the tour to Asia that Frank realised the scale of the club and its global fan base of millions. He immediately had to deal with the Son Heung-min situation. The Dane had called a number of Tottenham's senior players in the days after being given the job, and the South Korean star was the only one who made it clear that he wanted to leave the club. Frank's way of dealing with the departure of the Premier League icon and Spurs captain has been to his credit this summer, drawing praise from inside and outside the club, as well as from Son himself. The new head coach's communication style since arriving at the club has been the subject of some discussion within its walls. He brings with him an openness and positive approach, something shared by his coaching staff. After the tough times last season inside a beaten-down squad that felt put upon by circumstances at every turn, with injuries and the obstacles Christian Romero spoke of in his goodbye to Postecoglou, a positive approach has been no bad thing after the grind of the previous campaign. One of the consistent things you'll hear about Frank is he's just a good human being. That's not to say the new man is all sunshine and smiles. He can fix you with a stern glare in an instant, and Yves Bissouma has already found that the Danes' non-negotiables, including timekeeping, cannot be well negotiated. The Mali international's frequent tardiness cost him his place in the Super Cup squad, his third summer in a row of disappointing a head coach before the season began. It will likely end up being Bissouma's last summer at the club. Those who might think that after Postecoglou's well-known style of speaking, only in key moments to individuals, the conversational Frank would be a chatterbox in comparison to all of his players should think again. Some inside the Spurs squad have spoken to the Dane individually in longer moments, including a number of those senior players. But some players are believed to have mostly dealt with his coaching staff since his arrival, only getting brief moments of conversation with Frank in his first 5 weeks in charge. That's not entirely unusual among Premier League managers, especially with such a large squad to deal with, but there are certainly some players who are unsure exactly what Frank thinks of them at this point. Perhaps that is part of the plan, to keep certain players on their toes. All of the players have enjoyed the new training sessions so far, which are packed with detail, with plenty of focus on defending, although those 1 kilometre runs in the heat have certainly left their impact. Justin Cochrane and Matt Wells, close friends and highly rated coaches who know Spurs inside out, have been drawing up plenty of interesting sessions with Frank to help build the structure required in the team. Andreas Georgsson's set-piece and restart work has already paid quick dividends, and those situations are among the low-hanging fruit Ben Davies spoke of this summer that can improve Spurs. The blocking drills for all players have also brought immediate results in the games in Frank's first 5 weeks, with players trained to react quickly, to put their bodies on the line, to stop shots in front of goal. On the subject of bodies, injuries have not been exclusive to the Postecoglou era. Frank has lost Dominic Solanke, Destiny Udogie, Mana Solomon, new arrival Kota Takai, and of course James Maddison this summer, the latter for much of the coming season. He already had Dejan Kulusevski, Radu Dragusin and Brian Gill on the long-term injury list when he joined. There is a belief within Tottenham that the load on the players was not managed correctly during last summer's pre-season, especially with players coming back from their Copa America and Euros exploits, and that was a major problem that seeped into the season with the extreme style of play under Postecoglou. On the medical side, Football.London reported last month that Tottenham's Director of Performance Services, Adam Brett, and Head of Sports Science Nick Davies had both left the club after only a year. Davies tipped with moving to Everton. Spurs are in the process of looking for 2 new heads of department for that big picture stuff, with the day-to-day running of the medical side believed to not be impacted. Another key aspect of Frank's first summer has been the transfers, both in those made and those missed. There is an acceptance within Spurs that the uncertainty around Postecoglou's future impacted transfer activity out of the gate. Then in Frank's early weeks behind the scenes, comparisons were drawn to Arne Slot's first few months at Liverpool in working out his new squad's strengths and weaknesses before committing to bringing new faces in. Mathys Tell's loan was made permanent before Takai was signed as a prospect from Japan. Then Spurs made their first big move with the £55 million signing of Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. It was meant to be a £115 million double signing across 48 hours, with Tottenham thinking they were about to sign Morgan Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest. Frank had wanted the midfielder for years at Brentford, and Spurs had also tracked him for some time. Frank felt that his mobility and creativity as a number 10 would be perfect for his new-look Tottenham side, and it was a deal Spurs felt they could make happen. The North London club made a £60 million bid for the England midfielder that appeared to have triggered a release clause in his contract, with it having been made clear to them that the 25-year-old was keen to join and play Champions League football.